Every family has that one person who never seems to catch a break, and in the Mercer family, that was Eli. His brother was a polished lawyer. His ex-wife had remarried a man with more success, and Eli was left running a failing garage that everyone said was a dead end. His daughter, Emma, barely 16, loved him but saw him as a man who never quite lived up to his promises. To outsiders, Eli was a failure defined by missed chances, broken ventures, and dreams that never made it out of the garage. But when his estranged grandfather, Frank Mercer, passed away, everything shifted. While most of the estate went to his brother Marcus, Eli received something strange, an old workshop and garage tucked away on Industrial Road. Everyone mocked it. Marcus called it a liability, his ex-wife Sarah thought it was useless, and even Emma wondered why her father always got stuck with the scraps. But Frank had left him a note. For the boy who still listens to engines, take care of what's inside. It's worth more than they'll ever understand. Inside the dusty building were two cars under heavy covers, a Shelby Cobra and a Dodge Charger, plus workbenches filled with tools, blueprints, and journals. The family laughed when Eli inherited the property, but what he was about to uncover would shake their beliefs, attract dangerous attention, and prove that sometimes the family disappointment is the only one chosen for something extraordinary. At first glance, the cars seemed like forgotten relics. But when Eli and Emma lifted the covers, they found machines in impossibly pristine condition. Midnight blue paint gleamed under dust, chrome shined as if it had never tarnished, and the engines revealed modifications decades ahead of their time. Hidden compartments inside the Cobra held blueprints, documents, and even a key marked C1 and C2. When Eli tested it, a secret panel opened to reveal underground racing programs from the 1960s, photographs of his grandfather as a young man, and a name no one in the family had ever heard. Shadow Maker. Frank Mercer had faked his death in 1969, disappearing after a race crash while secretly building revolutionary cars. The newspaper clippings claimed he had died, but the truth was that he lived in secret, creating technology years before the automotive industry would catch up. His blueprints hinted at engines with fuel efficiency that doubled performance, suspension systems that looked more like aerospace engineering, and designs referencing Project Phantom. For Eli, this wasn't just inheritance. It was a revelation that his grandfather had been a genius hiding in plain sight. But revelations never stay secret for long, and soon, the people who had been searching for Frank's work for decades began circling like vultures. The first sign of danger came in the form of Richard Blackwood, a sharply dressed man who introduced himself as a collector's representative. He knew far too much about the cars and offered Eli $2 million on the spot. But his interest wasn't just financial. His eyes lingered on the blueprints. His voice betrayed familiarity with Frank's underground racing past, and his presence carried a quiet threat. Emma, ever sharp, caught that Blackwood seemed to recognize details no casual collector would. Soon after, appraisers, historians, and even government officials began showing up. Marcus, driven by greed, wanted to sell. Sarah worried Emma was being pulled into Eli's world of failed projects. But Emma herself felt something deeper. She connected to Frank's legacy and believed her father was the only one capable of finishing what Frank had started. As tensions rose, they discovered documents showing Blackwood had raced against Frank decades ago under the name Lightning. This wasn't coincidence. Blackwood had been hunting Frank's technology for over 40 years. And now he was offering more money, more pressure, and subtle threats that made it clear. If Eli didn't hand over the cars and research, others might come to take them by force. Just as Blackwood's offers escalated to $4 million, another arrival changed everything. Black SUVs pulled up, and agents from the Department of Defense entered the garage. Agent Reynolds explained that Frank Mercer hadn't just been a rogue genius. He'd been in contact with government agencies for decades, feeding them glimpses of his work while hiding the full scope. His technology, if real, could alter national security, military strategy, and global energy markets. To the government, this wasn't about inheritance. It was about preventing world-shifting innovation from falling into private hands. But when Emma uncovered hidden journals detailing Frank's research, the family realized just how big the secret was. These weren't just blueprints for better engines. They were instructions for energy systems that could redefine combustion itself. 40% greater efficiency, double the power, and applications that could stretch into aerospace. Reynolds wanted cooperation, Blackwood wanted ownership, and Eli was caught in the middle. His daughter looked at him with determination, insisting that Frank had chosen him for a reason. But as agents and collectors closed in, the Mercer family realized they weren't just protecting old cars. They were sitting on a technological goldmine worth billions, and people were willing to kill for it. The journals were the heart of it all. Hidden in a safe behind the garage wall, they contained decades of entries, from Frank's underground races to secret notes about government pressure and corporate espionage. He revealed how he faked his death in 1969 to protect his family, how Blackwood and others were already trying to weaponize his designs, and how he spent 40 years developing Phase 2 of Project Phantom. Some entries were chillingly recent, dated only 3 months before his death, long after his supposed dementia had begun. It raised terrifying questions. Had Frank really been sick, or had someone silenced him when his work neared completion? The entries hinted that Frank believed his research was finally ready for the world, but he feared it would be stolen. Emma read aloud passages describing contingency protocols and warnings that lightning was circling again. As the family absorbed this, Tony, a seasoned car restorer who had known Frank casually, revealed something shocking. Parts of the Charger Board Department of Defense contractor tags, proof that Frank had been tied to secret government projects. The realization was staggering. This wasn't just an inheritance, this was the key to a buried technological war. When the family confronted Blackwood with their discoveries, the mask dropped. He wasn't just a collector. He had been Lightning, one of the underground racers, and he had turned his legacy into a corporate empire called Advanced Automotive Technologies. His company had grown powerful by acquiring patents through shady means. Many inventors who crossed paths with him had died or disappeared, their work swallowed into his empire. Now, Frank's research was the crown jewel he had chased for decades. Blackwood made his position clear. If Eli sold, they'd walk away rich. If not, he hinted at consequences far worse. Agent Reynolds warned that the government might seize everything under national security law, but even he admitted that forces outside official channels were moving faster. Emma, caught in the storm, reminded them all that Frank hadn't chosen Marcus, Sarah, or the government. He had chosen Eli. That meant the responsibility of deciding the future of this technology fell on a man everyone else had written off. And in that moment, Eli realized that for the first time in his life, His family's survival depended not on his failures, but on his courage to protect what Frank had entrusted to him. As night fell, the garage became the epicenter of a standoff. Black SUVs representing the government, Blackwood's luxury sedan, and unmarked vehicles belonging to unknown parties circled the property. Inside, Eli, Emma, Marcus, Sarah, and Tony pored over the journals. The more they read, the more dangerous the truth became. Frank had predicted this moment. His notes described how multiple factions would one day converge to fight for his work. His final warning was simple. The technology belongs to those who understand it, not those who would exploit it. Emma argued that her father couldn't sell, not for any price. Marcus countered that refusing meant endangering all of them. Sarah pleaded for safety while Reynolds demanded cooperation. In the midst of chaos, Eli stood, grease-stained hands shaking but voice steady. He declared that Frank's work wouldn't be sold, stolen, or buried. Instead, it would be studied and shared on their terms. For the first time, the family looked at him not as the failure, but as the rightful heir to Frank's vision. But outside, headlights cut through the night, and the low growl of engines announced that Blackwood wasn't done negotiating. This time, he wasn't coming with a checkbook. He was coming with force. The story of Eli Mercer and his grandfather's hidden legacy ended not with a sale or a surrender, but with a choice that would define the family forever. Surrounded by enemies who wanted control, Eli, with Emma at his side, secured the journals and prepared for the fight ahead. The government wanted secrecy, Blackwood wanted power, but Frank's legacy had always been about freedom. Freedom to dream, to build, to create without limits. For the first time, Eli understood why Frank had chosen him, not because he was successful, but because he was stubborn enough to keep believing in possibilities when everyone else gave up. The garage, once mocked as worthless, had become the battleground for technology that could change the world. And though their future was uncertain, one thing was clear. The Mercers were no longer a family defined by failure. They were the guardians of a secret worth billions, and the fight for it was only beginning. If you've listened this far, it means you're as hooked as I was while telling this story. So don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment about what you do with Frank's technology, and hit that like button to keep these incredible stories alive. Because tomorrow, I've got something even wilder waiting for you.